Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Leaders Voices Project. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Ivan Lloyd, co-founder and CEO of Edison 365. They're all about enabling organizations to realize value from innovation. And they, like many of us, experienced huge challenges during the pandemic, particularly to challenges around their pipeline. So today we're going to be talking about how Ivan and his team pivoted their product and their messaging to better engage and serve their customers in these challenging times. Ivan, welcome to the Leaders Voices Project.
Thank you, Joe. Good to speak to you.
You too. So I wonder if you could tell us just a little bit about Edison 365 and about your role and about your take on innovation.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm one of the founders of the organization, the CEO. I've been with the company since the start. And what are we? Well, our passion, my passion, the company's passion, is all around not just ideas, but it's about reality. So we want to make sure that whatever an organization does in the innovation space actually drives value and benefit. And you know, I'd like to see with every organization we work with that the end result that they've noticed added value to their business.
Thinking about the pandemic, that hit us in March 2020, well, slightly before for some of us. What challenges did you at Edison 365 encounter when the pandemic hit?
Yeah, so it was an interesting time. I guess us as a business, we had a great pipeline. The first, start of last calendar year had been really good for us. January, February, March, lots of opportunity. Then all of a sudden, end of March, April, things came to a grinding halt, especially in certain regions where the pandemic hit, very hard. Fortunately, we're global, so it wasn't everywhere. And really the message was that companies didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know what the outcome was, how things were going to last. And they were looking at, whereas they were about to engage with us, they all of a sudden put it on hold and said, we need to evaluate, we need to understand, we may be looking at cutting costs, X, Y, Z. So it was a bit of a challenging time at March and April, I think.
And when we spoke before, you also mentioned that quite a lot of your customers were maybe not in the business anymore because there have been some cost cutting and they may have been on furlough. So was that also a challenge that you were sort of experiencing as well?
Yeah, it was a really nasty period, I have to say, in that people we'd been working, it wasn't so bad with the customers we were already engaged with, but with a lot of customers who were on the journey with us starting out, who hadn't necessarily progressed. We saw whole teams of innovation staff being furloughed, or even worst case being made redundant, and that's really not a nice experience at any point. So I guess what we did, which was good for us as a business, is we actually spent time with those. We kept engaged with the people who had suffered those consequences. Fortunately, lots of them actually got roles elsewhere. So yeah, very challenging.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the ways that you immediately dealt with the challenges that you were facing by staying close to those customers, regardless of their immediate present situation. One of our values at the Innovation Beehive is that we love our clients, and we do exactly the same thing. Regardless of where people are in their career, we know that they're still valuable people and valuable potential customers to us in the future. So you talked about continuing to speak to them. What else did you do in the face of the challenges? What other measures did you take to kind of address the both immediate and perhaps longer term challenges that you were facing?
Yeah, well, I think what was mostly apparent was that the reason for this, so the reasoning behind why these individuals and departments and teams were being furloughed or made redundant, was because organizations didn't understand the value. So when they were looking, when times were good and spend wasn't an issue, then that's fantastic. Innovation is a great thing. We want to be innovators. However, when times got a little bit tougher and they were looking around at their business and going, where do we cut our cost? Well, we don't want to cut our costs in anything dealing with our customers, but actually we feel as though maybe we can cut back our costs on innovation because we don't really know what the value and the benefit is. So and it comes back to my quote right at the start. It's not just about ideas. It's about reality. And so we've long been on this journey, which is to talk to prospects and customers about not just the front end of innovation, so coming up with fantastic thinking, but actually taking that all the way through the life cycle so that you get the value creation at the end. So this was a message we've been talking about for quite a while. The outcome for us of the April-May timing was like lots of things have accelerated. That messaging accelerated no end in businesses, in that rather than just looking at innovation for innovation's sake, they were really looking at how can we rapidly drive value, change, transformation in our businesses. And so our messaging pivoted, reinforced, and certainly started to hit home.
Really, yeah, really interesting point there about pivoting the messaging. And in a sense, it sounds like, my understanding of Edison 365 is that it's always done everything that you just described. So was it just exactly right? So is it just a case of dialing up that aspect of it so that you were speaking into the needs of the moment?
So I've been passionate about a couple of things that I've talked about for a number of years, but maybe they haven't necessarily always gained the traction that I would have liked. So I've talked very much around combining the best of innovation teams and portfolio delivery teams, so that you can have this end-to-end picture of what are we thinking, what are our great new ideas, but also what did we actually deliver and what did we realize. So I talk a lot about that. I've also talked a lot over the time about benefit realization. Everyone talks about it. Most organizations aren't very good about it. So our products have always done those things, but what has been striking to me is that the realization from organizations of those two concepts has been, well, I'll give you an example. Before the pandemic, organizations who were engaging with us were understanding the journey, and they were buying into the fact that we do, ideas, business cases, and projects. They were buying into that concept. But since the pandemic, we have had a 300% increase in organizations buying multiple modules. So before it, they might just buy ideas with the thought that they might go on to others. Now they're buying all three modules. So, for us, it's been pretty, pretty huge.
It's huge. And what I love about your story, Ivan, and why I was so keen to get you involved in this project, is because what you did was you did what the best innovators do. You absolutely listened to what your customers were saying, what your potential customers were saying, in that, business dried up, but you carried on talking to them. And in doing that, you identified a new customer need. And it wasn't a need for a new product. It was just a need to show them what your product already did. And so you pivoted the language, pivoted the way you communicated about it. It's fantastic. Is there one key principle that you think people could take away from this? So our audience is going to be, HR leaders. It's going to be senior leaders in organizations. It's innovation leaders in organizations. What one key message would you want them to take away from your experience of the pandemic, from your story?
Focus, without doubt, it's focus on benefits. Getting ideas from people quite often is relatively, if you do the cultural piece, is relatively easily. But what you really want is you want a benefit out of it. So you need to spend time focusing on how you really understand benefits, manage benefits, and have ownership of benefits. And if you can do that, you'll be able to actually understand what innovation is all about for me.
Amazing, thank you. Understand the benefits, and the best way to understand the benefits is stay connected with your customers wherever they are and whatever they're up to at the moment. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today. It really has. And I know that you'd be keen to hear from anyone watching this if they want to learn more about your experience or learn more about Edison 365. So
always
link to your LinkedIn profile in the description. We'll put a link to the Edison 365 website in the first comment on the video. So do check that out. And thanks everyone. Look forward to seeing you again for another another leaders video. And Ivan, thank you very much.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Joe, and thanks for the invite. Absolute pleasure.